Hey guys, just checking in about 9:15 here in California. I didn't take this trade, but I certainly mapped it out and it hit all the requirements. An impulse down with a wash, pretty small shelf. You may have tried to buy this and then got caught up if you moved to break even in here. Sometimes that happens. So you got to come up with a strategy on how you handle that. And I've come up with a couple different ones. But another 3-to-1 trade, early in the morning. If you caught it around 7:40, you were out about an hour later. But just watch the flow. And one other thing I was thinking, just an observation here. In this major, let's call this a major swing. There's oftentimes some minors, and oftentimes these minors are the same size, and you can develop a trade strategy off of that there. Although you're going to get wiped out unless your stop is above there. Um, something like that. You'd be good. And that's a small little 3-to-1 trade. It doesn't take a lot of these guys. You just have to get good at being able to see the flow and the impulse. And the other thing is, if you want to get a 3-to-1 trade, which I encourage because I don't subscribe to the 90% win rate. I don't think there's people that I know that have that rate, so it's hard for me to say that. But for the beginner, let's be realistic. You're hoping to get 20 to 30%. Start out with 10, and start out with a small dollar amount. You want to have a little bit of, you really don't want to try to shoot for big money. I've made a lot of money in 1 month, and I lost the same amount and a little more the next month. I made like 15 grand, and and the reason why I lost the next month is because I wanted to make it again, and I thought I knew what was going on, and I didn't have a strong system. But my point of this is that you need to be looking for these 3-to-1 trades, so that builds up your winning percentage, and you can get a better understanding of what your winning percentage is. This is kind of a weird trade now that I look at it, because the wash is really right here, and then it tests it and come back, and that works, but it's not necessarily our setup. But again, if we're buying the pullback, so if you want to get a 3-to-1 trade, you need to be selling with the sellers or buying with the buyers, and that way you don't want to be running into fresh air out here. Like this thing here, we didn't, we knew that this was the low so that it would pay, but we didn't know all this was happening. And there's strategies you can, follow it with ticks, or I use structure if I'm going to follow it. But oftentimes I'm just happy to get my 3-to-1. And if you want a 5-to-1 trade, you need to be like right up against, here somewhere, so you can get the whole next impulse. Try 5-to-1, puts you right there. It'll give you the whole impulse down to the next one, and then you can see it gets kind of janky in here. There's buyers and stuff's going to happen. But 3-to-1 is, once you start seeing these things and you start playing around with it, you show up and do the work, you're going to get really good at seeing these things. As I sit here, I can see a shelf kind of appear. I'm not eager to trade. My stop is behind here, so what does that look like if I'm going to buy that? That's a big stop. But maybe I just say, you know what, I want to get a 5-to-1, or I want to get a 3-to-1. Where does 3-to-1 live? Let's make sure that's 3-to-1. Without having to go down into here. Or if you want to go down into there, just stick with the same rules and just ignore everything else that's out there and live in this world. But just remember, two two minors make up a major. And so you know, think about where you're headed to and put it in your strategy. I mean, if you're looking for a tiny little guy, that one showed up there. And now I remember I don't like to sell at the bottom here where buyers are at, but we've got a lot of the puzzle here, and it shows up, and I realize this is in hindsight, but this is how I look forward. And it came up. It didn't quite hit it, so I don't know if I would have caught it. And it's, sometimes it's tough to hit that thing. Sometimes it's not going to come all the way back up. There's clues, though. There's clues. I see things. But what I'm teaching is to find a shelf. Maybe you want to say that's your shelf, and then you can say, okay, hit me on that 3-to-1 with a stop right there, or a stop behind the wash, and see if that works out. As it flows down here, maybe you move to break even. Say, I don't want to put all that risk out there anymore. I want to, tighten up my stop, cut it in half, do something behind structure, or go cash, and then watch it play out. You don't need a whole lot. This is all you need. All right. Talk to you in a little bit.